to know, I'm just looking at the article because it was released 2 days ago on some random website, but it says it's an open source music platform secured by Bitcoin's blockchain. I'm not really sure what that means. Surround TM is this open source platform. I guess they use some sort of Oracle. I don't know.
I think they have their own blockchain initiative as well.
It's very weird.
I shared the article in our chat.
Okay, well, I'd love to see what they've really got. It seems like it's a lot of, there's a lot of discussion on the interwebs, but I haven't seen them.
Hey, Greg, I'm having a lot of trouble hearing you.
Substantive thing. And I have to say, same with the peer tracks. I haven't seen anything substantive in the sense of, well, what's the actual blockchain technology being used? At least with peer tracks, what's the consensus mechanism?
Mm-hmm.
And if their tokens are actually worth something, on what exchange are they worth something?
I sent you a link regarding they're on the coin market cap. I think they were around 800, and they're but I didn't see where they're actually being exchanged. I don't remember.
No, that's what I'm saying is, where are they being exchanged? How would you?
How would you trade?
How would you take one of those tokens and turn it into Bitcoin or Ether or USD?
Let's take a look.
Well, with regards to the Bitfury technology, I don't think it's created. It's just they announced that they wanted to do something. So if you read their press release very carefully, it says like they have an initiative to build a music entertainment division, which to me is very strange. Like, why is a mining company diversifying into a music entertainment division? I don't know. That's just very, very strange.
To me, that's not strange at all, right? To me, it's like if proof of work companies are not diversifying, then they would be foolish, right? Proof of work is
wouldn't, well, yeah, but would they be, I don't know, wouldn't they be investing into POS technology and not music technology? I don't know. If I was a miner, I would want to secure profits through staking, if that's in the future, not music.
I think it's like this is a business strategy thing, right? It's not necessarily the case that they feel that they have to recoup the loss on the mining equipment, right? And it may be the case, and certainly feels like the case, that the mining equipment doesn't necessarily amount to much when it comes to a POS system, right? The mining equipment could just be written off as a loss, and then how you diversify then is, it's up to you. Where you go from that point is it could be higher levels in the stack, or it could be at the same level of the stack.
Well, I think it's very interesting that Bitfury approached you guys.
I was really looking forward to having a further conversation, and they all of their communications with us indicated that they were very, very interested, and then they went dark.
Well, I mean, I can reach out to them and see if, maybe just have a conversation about their music technology. They also have this other whole system they're building too. Custom Byzantine consensus algorithm platform. Okay. Yeah, this is getting outside of my scope. I posted it in the chat. Yeah.
It sounds like they're building another blockchain.
Yep.
I was just reading the platform they're building. They're building it on Rust. It looks like they've already started working. Surround, SURROND. I guess that's the equivalent of RSong.
Yeah, the Surround platform will enable the entire music entertainment industry to streamline operations through secure transfer. ... Yep.
And then they have a link there that it sounds like they've already started building it. And it's in Rust.
Okay. We should, maybe it's worth reaching out to them again and seeing.
I think so. I think so. Because, I mean, it doesn't matter what language they develop as long as they somehow Dockerize it and we could interface with it.
Yeah, or the other way around. Maybe they'd rather cut some of their costs and just use what we've already built.
Right.
That would probably be a big win for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would love to talk to them.
Yeah,
to the
Yep.
developers.
And we know for a fact that neither of these services offer the audio capabilities that RSong offers.
Well, nobody has it. We're the only ones that have that the special sauce, so to speak.
That's correct. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Well, from what I understand, it's still very much in the initiative phase, and so I think that they would be open to hearing about new technologies that could be part of their initiative.
That's great. So I can forward the contacts that we had. To
Great. Yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Cool.
Yeah, I could shake the tree over there, see if we can make a deal happen.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Well, next week I will be at the NAM conference. Nora, will you be going to Anaheim for NAM by any chance?
I don't know yet. I have a number of friends who have invited me to go, and I mean, I have a couple of ways in, but I don't know if I'm going to go yet or not. I've been many times in the past, and I don't know. It remains to be seen. Possible.
Okay, you let me know if you land out there. I'll be out there Thursday and Friday next week, and I've already got a meeting set up with the guys over at Ableton, and I'm waiting on confirmation for my Native Instruments meeting. And but I'll be out there with Derek.
All right. Well, I'll let you know if I decide to go.
Okay. And for those of you that don't know, NAM is the National American Music Makers Gathering in Anaheim. And there are about, I think, 90,000 people show up at the Anaheim Convention Center. And every single person that's in the business of making instruments and distributing instruments is there, along with tens of thousands of musicians. So that's where I'll be next week for a couple of days.
And music software people too.
Everybody, all the software guys. Anything that you see being sold on in Guitar Center or Sam Ash, for those they're all there.
If you see the guys at Benchmark, let me know, because I'm looking for a DAC. I heard Benchmark are the best ones. But I'm looking at them right now. They're still like $2,200. It's like pretty pricey. So if you see any good DACs, let me know that are like more affordable than that.
You got it.
So I thought we were having a really good conversation last week. That was, sort of requirements gathering conversation, touching base on intake and identity, and how those two are interrelated. I wonder if we could pick up the threads on that. Do we remember sort of where we landed in terms of that conversation?
Well, I think that apparently I dropped a bomb at the very end.
Oh yeah, that's right.
You did. That's right.
Remind me the bomb.
I was kind of throwing out a hypothetical for making things as easy as possible for a first-time user who isn't really aware or interested in blockchain. So someone who, say there's like a hypothetical music streaming service / social network that wants to make use of blockchain, wants to make use of our chain and RSong, and they have a subscription model, and they have a user who wants to pay in their credit card form. How is the feasibility of a service that accepts their credit card and then does the converting to ROC for the user, and does the transfer into the platform for the user.
I
Is
mean,
that
there's lots of solutions like that, right? There's a bunch of cards that will go to the go to various are backed by various cryptocurrencies. So card to chain path is relatively straightforward at this point in the market.
Oh, good. Okay. Because I was thinking of it going two ways. Like I was thinking of it either being um, user pays with credit card, service accepts credit card,
Mhm.
then on behalf of the user, they transfer that money into Rock, and then enter the Rock into blockchain via RSong, and then RSong takes care of all of the um, usage data, and then at the end of the month, the monies are divvied out in the opposite direction. Or I was thinking of another possibility where the money is never converted into Rock. So the user pays with their credit card. The service keeps that money in fiat, and then utilizes RSong and RChain for their content delivery needs, as well as their attribution and provenance needs. But there's no actual money exchange going on within the RChain network.
Well, that would be really hard to do, right?
Okay, so that one's harder. Okay.
Somebody's got to be supplying some money in order to run that thing to begin with.
So it's actually literally easier to actually have the service do the conversion from.
So users go to a stable
Mhm.
coin,
Absolutely.
and the stable coin is connected to a rev supply.
Hmm.
But with respect to, but there's another buffer in there, which is the price of phlogiston. So you can adjust the price of phlogiston, and in fact, this is sort of how it works for Ether and Ethereum today, right? So the price of phlogiston, or the rev to phlogiston conversion can be adjusted so that you don't have a lot of fluctuation to run the same contracts. If you have a lot of market fluctuation, so there are two buffers in there that can keep the user's experience relatively stable.
Cool. So that's exciting to me, because that means that it's feasible right now for someone to introduce a service that is pretty much blockchain invisible to a user.
Well, I guess the place where I would want to have blockchain rear its head is on the path back out, but then potentially also on the path back in, once you've established a certain amount of presence, and that is, um, it may very well be that there is an advantage to the user to be holding. I guess it is the path in first, holding token that is associated with a particular artist. Right. So let's say that it's not just that the path is not just Rev or a stable coin that's backed by Rev, but rather, there's a token that's associated with a particular artist, or even better, a collection of artists. Right. So that token enables the user to get um, access not only to audio content but to other things as well. and that's why they prefer that token over Rev. Does that make sense? So, for
Yes.
example, if the California Guitar Trio, wants to offer guitar lessons that are only available via the California Guitar Trio token, then that user may have a preference for the California Guitar Trio token, but then that token should be also usable on the platform in order to gain access to the audio content. So I would hope that there's a diversity of tokens without there being too many, right? And the way one of the ways that I've thought about mediating modulating the complexity is that artists join. So this is where your notion of an artist needs a label really starts to shine, because if artists can come under, you know, um, the rubric of a particular label, that label is the thing that supplies a token. So that way you don't have to have quite as many tokens. Because the thing I get concerned about is if there are thousands and thousands of artists out there, and if they all have their own token, then it becomes a nightmare to try to navigate all the trades you need to do in order to get to the thing that you're seeking,
Hmm.
whether it's fiat or some good or service. Does that make sense, Daryl?
Yeah, I think so. One way I've always been kind of thinking about the token thing is that would there also be perhaps some fairly kind of standardly used tokens that would be used across the social network, that like the social network itself would have a token?
Um, uh, yeah, well, I mean, it certainly seems like there are lots of things that can be done with a token in a social network. You know, if a social network is sort of affords the posting of content, then you could use tokens to promote that content. So that makes a lot of sense. So it becomes, and then people who engage with the content, right? They're either engaging with content that is of high value because it comes from um, acquaintances or associates or friends in the social network whose opinion they value or respect in some way that's measurable, or they're engaging with content because when they engage, they get um, they get some of the promotion token provided to themselves. Does that make sense?
You lost me a little bit there.
Okay, so let's say that we have um, Rick, Morty, Summer, Beth, and Jerry. These are our characters, and uh, Morty is more likely to listen to or want to engage content that is coming from Rick or from Beth, and less likely to engage in content coming from Summer and Jerry. Okay, because over time, Morty has come to recognize that Rick's posts are highly interesting or highly effective, or they have some significant value to Morty, and likewise with Beth's. Whereas content coming from Jerry is it just doesn't command Morty's attention as much, and the system kind of picks up on that, right? So the system can actually measure this kind of thing in terms of engagement, and reorder the Morty's feed on that basis. Okay, so because the system has been able to sort of register that Rick has a higher reputation relative to Jerry in Morty's in engagement behavior. The system reorganizes Morty's feed to put Rick and Beth's posts closer to the center of Morty's attention, and Summer and um, Jerry's posts further away from the center of Morty's attention on the device that Morty is using to engage the social network. So that's the way the system is working. Now, however, if Jerry promotes with a token, so he puts some token behind a particular post, then Rick, I'm sorry, Morty can make a decision, right, and say, I want to see all those posts that have at least 50, quatlus behind them, near the top of my feed or near the center of my attention. And so now Jerry's posts which would normally be sort of lower in the feed, are now that they're those that which have the quatlu attached to the post are closer to the center of Morty's attention. They're closer to the top of the feed, right? So Morty will see, a post from Rick, an advertisement from Jerry that has quatlus associated with it, a post from Beth, and so on, right? Something like that. And so if Morty actually engages the post from Jerry, then he receives some portion of the quatlus that have been put behind, that Jerry put behind this post, in order to make sure that it got closer to the top of Morty's feed. Does that make sense now? Is that clearer?
Kind of clearer in some ways and more confusing in others. Excuse me. So this kind of reminds me a little bit of the way back in the day, this kind of scenario discussions that were going on, and I remember like the concept of amps was something that Dor seemed really into, and I always seemed like kind of felt kind of nervous about the idea of amps. Are you referring to quatlus like in the way of kind of amps where someone can pay to have their feed be more available? Or am I totally confused?
No, that's it's a similar kind of mechanism, right? The basic point is that you can put tokens into a post to promote it. It's just like on Facebook, you can boost a post. Yeah. And in order to boost the post, you have to put some money into it.
I see.
So but the thing is that what Facebook doesn't do, it doesn't pay the recipients of boosted posts.
Right.
So you could have the recipient of a boosted post get a fraction of the boost.
Okay. So this is starting to sound a lot like some of the kind of empowerment advertising concepts that I've been kind of exploring lately, and so like one of the things that I'm kind of excited about is the potential of bringing the revenue from advertising to the people, to the advertisee, rather than to the siren servers that run the world. This is all really exciting to me because I think this could be quite revolutionary and could spread out to other social network models.
Yeah, I think but my feeling is that, do we have to build all of that additional mechanism in order to have RSong be an interesting or viable platform?
I would say no. I would say that we don't have to focus on that at all right now.
Mhm.
Like to me, and this is, I think this is part of what we were talking about last week, where the whole kind of like token architecture, the notion that we could have everything figured out in advance and then just like write a white paper and then plop this perfectly working token architecture into society is like kind of wacky. To me, the idea is that we build a streaming service that's really similar to the current mainstream streaming services, in that it's a subscription model. People pay a monthly fee, they get to listen to music. The difference is how that music is divided up and sent to the artist, and that becomes the instigator. And then you attach a social network onto that. And so you have people who are discovering each other through music. And there's been various degrees of success in experiments with music-based social networks over the years, over the last 20 years or so. We can start talking about those. But and so from that comes the architecture. So we start to build the token model from how it's being used.
That's kind of what I've been driving at, is what I really want. And again, maybe I don't get what I want, but what I would really like to do is to get enough of the architecture in place that artists are recognize the potential of the platform, and they're engaging with the platform, but not all of the questions are answered. And in particular, not all of the token questions are answered, because we want them to have a very public conversation about token models that they would like the platform to support. And then we can effectively work with them to provide some of the models that they want supported, and they can get other vendors, suppliers, and partners to come up with the other of those models, because the platform is open and extensible. And then we get and then we get enough uh, and of an example of um, a community that's self-assembling, right? Um, they're they're beginning to realize how the platform creates coordination within their community, creates this kind of economic coordination, and they become involved. They're sort of in control of their destiny, because they're deciding how the dynamics of that coordination.
Exactly, and this is where the empowerment advertising model can come into play as well, where you have a community that forms, and perhaps let's say that community is people that really like the band Magma. I don't know if anyone out there has heard of Magma, but they were a very strange prog rock band from the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, so let's say that everyone loves Magma in this community, and someone in the community has made a limited edition run of some Magma silkscreen T-shirts, and so they want to advertise their T-shirts into this community. So rather than the traditional advertising model that runs the world right now, where it's basically an opt-out and you have surveillance capitalism that is spying on people to determine what they like, you have a situation where the people, it's a given that the people are going to want to buy some Magma T-shirts. And so the Magma T-shirt manufacturer approaches the community and says, hey, I'd like to advertise my T-shirts on your network, on your community, in your community part of the network. And the community decides amongst themselves, do we want them, do we not? And they say yes, and then the advertiser comes in, and the advertiser pays the community instead of Google for the right to advertise in their community. So that's kind of like the empowerment advertising model that I've been kind of bantering about in my brain with Peter Harris as well. Like, Peter Harris introduced me to the whole idea of empowerment advertising, so I have to give him credit right there. But yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I think that's very much the kind of thing we would like to support. But again, I think it's a follow-on to some of the basics. Like the basics are, can we deliver audio content, and can people get, get some kind of exchange, economic exchange going,
Mhm.
for delivering that audio content.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. This is why, like I say, for me, the first step is to build a really easy to use streaming music service, that uh, for the user is as close to what they're already used to with the mainstream streaming services and how they pay for it, and then build it out from there.
Yeah, that
Yep.
seems about right. I feel like,
And I,
we've been dominating the conversation. Fabian, you please go, and then
yeah,
others.
I was just going to say that's it's somewhat what we're taking the baby steps towards working on right now. Is as Ned, myself, and Kayvon have been digging deep into it and um, having a bunch of work sessions to try and take steps towards making that a reality. And I'm working on putting together a plan that would hopefully allow us to reach there within the next 10 weeks. I think within a 10-week period we can get this done, probably sooner, but I think 10 weeks is a very unrushed, unpressurized space for us to be able to pull it off, and we're taking those steps to get there. I see a name I'm not familiar with. There's a Michael on the call. Michael,
Michael, say
have you
hi.
been on the call before?
There was a Michael who joined us who was involved in some of the music legislation, and music
Yes,
festival
this is.
legislation.
Yeah, I don't know if Michael or whether you hear us or maybe you're on mute, but I'll make the
Hey
reintroduction.
guys,
Oh, yeah, there you
sorry.
are. Okay.
Daryl, you can go ahead and introduce me again if you want. But yeah, I've been on the calls a few times.
This is Michael Flynn.
Michael Flynn from Iconic
Hey man,
Artists.
I remember. Yeah, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Good to see that you're back on the call.
Yeah, very interesting to kind of follow along with you guys. I was on the call this morning mainly because I've been thinking about just like really sort of hyper-focused ways that I might be able to utilize our chain with some of the work that I'm doing. We've kind of shifted our focus a little bit at Iconic Artists, and we're still working with regards to for and against the implementation of the MLC. But one of the things that Daryl and I had been talking about a week or so ago was the idea of, and I really have no idea what the technical ramifications of such an implementation would be, but as you guys are probably aware, the MLC as it's currently set up, the Mechanical Licensing Collective, it punishes independent artists, and so the strictly business opportunity, completely non-technical, the business proposition that I see having potential in the blockchain world is to serve that segment of the fastest growing sector of the music industry, which is basically the hip hop, the Latino, and the DIY artists genres, the independent artists sector. They're uploading about 135,000 songs a month to the various streaming services. And, I kind of walk in both worlds. I'm in the vision side of things that you guys are talking about with the sort of, change the world and empower everybody and use technology to serve. But I'm also in the practical world of dealing with the industry sort of heavyweights that run this industry. And, the pushback that I've gotten frequently is that the industry, there's always been a level of mystery, to be polite, in the music industry, and that's by design, and that's what facilitates economic growth in some ways. And so the pushback that I've gotten around blockchain technology is that the industry might not be ready for such transparency. So in that context, I've kind of pivoted with regards to some of the work that I'm doing with regards to the MMA and the MLC. And I see opportunity for maybe for our chain. I'd love to have a conversation with some people from, some developers. Ned, I just pinged you on LinkedIn, and Kayvon, around the implementation of a song registry that's blockchain based. It's I don't want to get too deep in the weeds. I just really would like to see something that I could take to some of my contacts in Congress and at the Copyright Office, and maybe leverage some of my relationships with some of the larger independent publishers to put together a alternative song registry solution to Sound Exchange.
So
The MLC is going to.
I like that idea a lot.
Yeah, so we've got the makings of this, right? The
Yep.
basic, the real difference between what we've got and an MVP is literally just the number of songs.
Okay, well, that's perfect. I can help with that because I guess I'll share openly with you that, I could add songs. I'll just put it this way. For now, I'll just say I could add songs very quickly. And I think that there's a path to a certain. I've shared this with Daryl, and I'll share it with other people privately if the conversation is worth continuing. But there's a government institution that has a small but awesome catalog of music. You can probably guess who I'm talking about. That if I had a blockchain-based song registry, I could go to them literally on Tuesday, because Monday's a holiday, and add, almost as many songs as we wanted to for a government body that I could then take back to the Copyright Office and say, hey, look what we just did. We put all these songs. We're gonna enable copyright protection and enforcement for this government institution as a proof of concept. Then and position that as, you have to look at this as an alternative, a viable alternative to what's going on with Sound Exchange. In between now and March, you guys have, I think, still your rev issuance coming up, and I don't know if the idea of the concert is still something that Fabian's been driving on, but I think at some point in Q1 or early Q2, you could do something very promotional around this song registry as just a starting point. There wouldn't have to be a lot of complicated metadata gathering. All you'd have to really have is name, address, and ISRC to start. But you could certainly add whatever you want into it down the road. And we could also then start to reach out to, I could move on deals with some of the distributor aggregators that are involved with the maybe the AMLC initiative, which I see as potentially positioning themselves as an alternative to Sound Exchange. We could potentially join that ecosystem, coordinate once ready the addition of potentially millions of more songs, or the lowest hanging fruit would be to me to just go straight to like TuneCore and say, look, add a box onto your upload service for an extra $1. You get your song added to the RChain blockchain, or I'm calling it the song registry. So there's $135,000 135,000 songs a month being uploaded by these distributors, aggregators. They're not necessarily collecting the best metadata. We could solve that problem. We could target the right target audience. We could probably connect into OMI very nicely with an initiative like this. And it's, I think, relatively simple, stupid on the technology side.
Yep, I really appreciate what you're bringing to the table. It's been a lot on my mind in regards to being able to have a similar conversation with folks over at CD Baby. And I believe that when we actually have a demo to show, or a landing page to show, or a bunch of Google Sheets a bunch of sheets that illustrate the UX, the UI interface, and the economic proposition, we're ready to walk through the door to start having those conversations. And I think we could get there pretty soon over the next few weeks. And as you said, I think, it's possible by the end of Q1, more realistically towards the beginning/middle of Q2, for us to be able to start having those meetings and having the PDF document that illustrates what it is that we're building. That way we could start onboarding business opportunities for the project.
All right. So just to put it out there, I mean, I'm very interested in this, and if I can help in any way, just ping me. You guys have my
absolutely.
contact.
Great.
So
Great.
if I could just jump in here, there is based on what I'm hearing from Michael, there is a big difference between the kind of intake that we were talking about with individual artists uploading, a recent catalog of assets that, maybe an album or something like that, where, they're managing, a handful of assets versus, if Michael comes in and says, I can guarantee the provenance of these, 15,000 assets, then it's a different intake process, right? It really has a different flavor and a different feel, and it's a different set of requirements. So I just want us to be realistic about it. In some sense, Michael's requirements are simpler. It's bulk upload together together. Yeah, right. So as opposed to being friendly to an individual artist who's got whatever 10, 20 songs that they're trying to upload. And they're detailing information about each of those assets. Here, we're talking about a bulk upload, and a different kind of engagement around, who is the party that is doing the bulk upload, and how can they give us assurance that they have the right or the the associated provenance with each of those assets.
I think we need to be prepared for both. Yeah, absolutely. Because you're absolutely correct. There's one side, which is independent artists, you own your masters, fill out our forms, upload your songs, done. And then there's the larger business opportunity of scaling and being able to have a platform that can handle millions of songs and having those conversations with the TuneCores or CD Babies of the world, establishing that partnership. That way we can identify how much of that catalog can we ingest and what is the process for that material to land onto the platform. So we are able to, we can deliver, because we don't know yet how much we can actually handle. If tomorrow someone knocks on the door and says, I'm ready to give you 10 million songs, what we're going to say, well, we can't do that, but we can say we could take 1 million songs to start there and then move through that process.
One other thing I would add to that, just to underscore, I think it's important for this initiative and probably for others when you're industry facing, when you're establishment industry facing. You've always got this sort of juggernaut of Apple out there that was just gonna, when they watch the market move, they're gonna issue a new codec, or they're gonna do something that's gonna just like cause disruption and sea change, and they're going to do a real cool commercial about it, but it's going to just screw everybody. The idea of blockchain is terrifying to most of the established players because of the transparency issue. And so I would say that it was mentioned earlier in the call, but Ed, I talked about it a few months back. I think that the blockchain technology is very important to all of the concepts that we're talking about, but it doesn't necessarily have to be on the surface. I think creating an approach where you're providing, at least in the initiative that I'm talking about with maybe the MLC or the MLC and the song registry, blockchain doesn't necessarily have to be up front. In my opinion, it would be better off if it was sort of beneath the surface. We're just providing a new song registry service that's serving the fastest growing sector of the independent artists, and it has technology under the hood that no artist cares about and has time to understand.
Exactly.
But we know that it's there, and we know we can see, and it's actually it's an advantage from a business perspective, because we can then decide how we want to execute with the information that we're gathering, and how we decide to leverage that. So
Sure,
Sure. Yep, I completely agree with you, Michael, because I think there's an aspect around the offering that we're putting out there, which is whatever the superpower technology is that's running in the back end, nobody cares. People really just want to see, wow, you've got this new app. This app has these extra bells and whistles that nobody else has ever delivered before. And if we're able to deliver on that promise, whatever the technology is called, the general user is not really, they really don't care about that. What they want to know is that they have an app that has steroids on it. And that's what we're working on delivering.
Okay, so just one other thing too. Good.
So I just wanted to point out that Kayvon kindly put some points in the chat about the bulk upload as it exists today in RSong. Kayvon, do you want to make a couple of comments there?
Yes. So what I meant is by that is we created a storyboard where we're gathering everything that we talk about, and on the early days we did identify the need for bulk upload. So that is part of our stories.
Okay, good.
And I also, if I could, I'm hoping that it's not premature, but may I share my screen?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Okay, just 1 second when I get there. Because this concept of registry is something that we've also been already talking about, not quite in that scope, but share screen.
I mean, just when the assets are uploaded, we have a registry, right?
Yes, right. So hopefully you could see the diagram.
It's a little tiny for me, but maybe just because I'm on my phone.
Oh, hang on. I can do better. Share screen. There we go. Is that better by any chance?
Yeah, that's better for me.
Okay. Sorry. So basically, when we acquire new songs, you and I think we all talked about this, Greg, that they go in kind of a holding pattern while we're verifying the authenticity and the ID of person that owns that song. And while in that holding pattern, that this line from RSong acquisition to the chain. And then at some point when we verify them, they actually go through this provisioning, which is kind of synonymous with the registry. Once they provision or register, that basically means the song is searchable. So,
yes.
So that means we vetted and we finalized the metadata. We already know who the owner is, and we're good with all that. And the other point that I wanted to talk about is we spent some time about tokenization. There are two tokens here, right? There is a token that we internal to RSong we're maintaining, and we're mapping that to contracts and such. And then there is this other external token that I think that you and Daryl and the team has been discussing as far as how that token gets monetized. Am I right in this?
Yeah, that's pretty close. There may be just some with respect to tokenization. I think there's some subtlety there, but by and large, that you've got it accurate. Yes.
So this is the other night when I was trying to just picture what the system looks like. That's basically, I got to work on this naming, but this is this external monetization system or tokenization system, which basically maps what we internally do with our contracts in blockchain and what we externally want to provide to the consumers as far as.
That's correct. That's right. So, for example, if they wanted to, in Daryl's case, if they wanted to do all fiat, then that monetization system has to go back and forth between fiat and token.
Exactly, because at the end of the day, and I know I'm vastly simplifying this, but at the end of the day, monetization basically has a catalog of APIs for each one of these.
That's right.
whether they're PayPal's or their MasterCard or their Ethereum or what have you. It's a catalog of APIs, and it's a matter of monetization learning how to talk to those APIs.
Yeah, that's it exactly, precisely.
So
in that, we've only got about 2 minutes, but in that context, Michael, did you want to make your last comment?
Yeah, I just had one more thought that I'll just share with you guys, and that is, this is the music business. So I come from a game theory model, and something else that Daryl and I just talked about really briefly that I've been looking at too is starting a what I'm calling a rogue pro. And it started on, it came onto my radar for reasons that had to do more with very, very well established artists that I've worked with, and fractional ownership of copyrights in order to use them as potential holding up tools with regards to the issuance of mechanical licenses. So I think that still staying at a super high level, because that's really where I operate best with regards to the technical side of things. If we were to just, as you just demonstrated, Kayvon, I mean, you basically have a song registry right there just by the nature of it is what it is. It's the form following function. So we could create a song registry at the same time we could create a pro that's dedicated to RSong. RSong is going to become the streaming service that the pro will serve, and you would have to get a license from our pro in order to distribute onto that platform. It's just it's a high level thought. I know there's a lot of flaws with it, but it's just something to consider, how to use this technology as an offensive and a defensive weapon.
When you say get a license from our pro, are you suggesting that we use this registry as a new form of a pro? We're creating a blockchain based pro.
Exactly, because the mechanical licensing.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
For our people who might be tuning in and who are not deep in the music industry, can you explain to them what a pro is?
A pro is basically like an ASCAP or a BMI, or my favorite model is Irving Azoff's new initiative, which is kind of where this concept stems from. But it basically provides royalty collection services.
It stands for
performance. It's a collectors.
Yeah, it stands for
Rights
Organization, and it represents songwriters. And one thing I think that's really important to clarify as we go forward in kind of conforming to how the industry has evolved is that we always make a distinction between Circle C copyright and Circle P copyright. Circle C is copyright in the song, and that's what Michael is focused on. Circle P copyright comes from phonograph, and it comes from the copyright in the recording. And so those two things always have to be kind of parsed out right now.
I'd also just like to recognize that the first area within the music industry that is going to be disrupted by this technology is ASCAP and BMI, because there's a certain they're the lowest hanging fruit that's going to take the punch because of what this technology offers. So the proposition of building our own pro, it's been sitting in the back of my mind, but the technology completely lends itself to it within the world of blockchain. It does not work that way for going and getting the money from what's being played on radio and within the world outside of the internet. But where this can all go within the next 5 to 7 years, and establishing something along those terms, and having, building out a streaming platform is equivalent to building out a song registry. It's the same thing. Yeah, and so it doubles. It lends itself to these different verticals. Quite easily.
And that's why these kinds of requirements discussions, even though they seem like they're a little bit wandery, ferreting out these kinds of efficiencies and synergies. Why we have these requirements discussions. But we have an RSong staff meeting that we're a couple of minutes late for, so I'm jumping off to that.
Yes. All right, guys. Great call.
Thanks, guys.
Everybody, see you next week.
Bye, guys. Thank you. Bye.
Have a great week, everybody.
Bye-bye.